Yes.
Proactively managing your mobile platform. Well, joining us to speak about that today is Martin Jack, Chief Technology Officer at Barcoding, Inc. Martin, pleasure to see you once again. Welcome.
Nice seeing you again. Thank you.
Martin, threshold question has to do with the mobile platform today and how it looks versus what we saw in the past. What do you say?
Oh, that's a good question, right? It's a lot more complicated today than it ever was. 10, 15 years ago, when you think of the mobile platform, basically you were looking at a hardware, a mobile device, maybe some software loaded on there, and a dial-in modem. That's assuming that user was doing real-time data capture. Today's mobile device, we're looking at several components. We're looking at the mobile device, GPS, we're looking at cellular, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, NFC. Let's not forget the software. Very complicated software. Within the software, we now have a SQL database that lives on the device. We have data analytics tools that are running on the device. We have mobile device management tools on the device. So there's so many more components involved in today's system than there were 10 years ago. It's a very complex system.
Mm-hmm. And accompanying that complexity is any number of potential pitfalls, I should think.
Definitely. When you look at today's system, there's so many things that can go wrong that it's difficult for the customer to understand where the fault lies. As an example, something as simple as, I can't save data. My system is telling me there's an error. Is it the carrier's fault? Is it the OEM's fault because the driver for that particular radio isn't working? Is it the software developer's fault that created the software? Is it the hardware? So, today's customer really needs help in managing those mobile systems because it's no longer just one source of the problem. Now you have multiple sources that can attribute to that particular problem.
You mentioned software, you mentioned systems. I want to talk about OEM specific versions of operating systems. Walk us through, if you would then, the advantages or the disadvantages of such systems. What do you think?
Sure. So when I think of OEM firmware, OEM stack on top of a layer, let's step back for a second. So typically you have operating systems, we know Android, we have iOS. Traditionally in the space that we live in, we have Windows Mobile, Windows CE. Those operating systems all exist today and they work well. But in the space that we live in, we are looking to do more with those devices. So our OEM manufacturers, they build a stack on top of those operating systems to add added advantages. So as an example, they may allow us to control the scanner. They may allow us to do power management on those devices. They may allow us to add additional security on top of the existing security of the device. So we are looking to tie ourselves with OEM, partner ourselves with OEM that take advantage of the devices and really add a stack on top of the existing operating system that's going to make these devices a bit more commercialized versus just consumer devices. Our customers need to be able to scan, let's say, 10 barcodes within 10 seconds, right? They need to be able to have another layer of security so that they can protect their networks. So we lean on our OEM manufacturers to add those added stacks on top of the operating system.
If I'm looking to build cross-platform mobile apps on Windows or iOS or Android systems, my options are what? Walk me through that.
Sure. Well, your options today are a lot more than they were just a year ago. That's how quickly this technology is advancing. When we think of operating systems today, as I said, we have Android, we have iOS, we have Windows Mobile, probably Windows 10 just announced last week. So my advice would be, you want to determine, do you want to build a native application or do you want to build an application, maybe an HTML5 application that runs across the board? You know, we tend to utilize tools that are today across the board. We want cross-platform development. So tools that we tend to utilize, as an example, Xamarin is a tool that we would utilize that will allow us to use existing technology, Microsoft.NET, build an application using Microsoft.NET, yet it's deployed natively across all of the operating systems. So that's one tool that we could potentially utilize. There are other tools out there, such as PhoneGap. PhoneGap allows you to create an application in HTML5 that runs on multiple devices. So today there are options that exist that will allow us to create solutions for our customers that will run across multiple platforms.
You know, I want to turn now, if I can, to mobile platforms, deploying, and successfully, obviously, a mobile platform. What are the steps that are mandatory, that I absolutely have to take if I'm going to be successful in that initiative?
So I can spend 2 hours on that, right?
So give us the Reader's Digest
But I'll
version.
give you the Reader's Digest. You know, there are a few steps that are needed. The first step, that I can't miss step, is that the customer and the vendor must agree on the requirements. Sounds very simple, but there must be written requirements that they agree upon, okay? They must also work together to develop a test bed, right? A sandbox, as some people call it, whereby there's a common sandbox test environment that they can both share, the customer and the software vendor, so that they're testing against the same system, using the same test data, test scripts, test plan, okay? Once they have gone through that, they need to start thinking about the deployment. Am I going to use an MDM? Not whether they're going to use an MDM, which MDM are they going to use? That's mandatory today. So the MDM must be developed. In addition to that, they must be able to have a steady state plan. After the rollout takes place, a lot of folks forget the system is still running, it's still live. You know, you use Windows today, you use maybe an iOS and Android phone today. Guess what? Their updates come in periodically. That's, you know, the system, the solution has been released, but there's a steady state where that must be considered, so that how do we get releases out to our users in the field? How do we manage them? How do we update these devices? So these are the steps that are required. As I said, I can spend a couple hours on this topic, but those are some of the basic requirements necessary.
Speaking of management, I know that data analytics can help me manage my mobile platform, but walk us through, nevertheless, for the viewer, just how that is so.
So data analytics today, it's the new thing everyone is talking about, but it isn't because it's just new and exciting, it's real. With data analytics, the goal is, let's collect data points, let's analyze that data and proactively prevent things from happening, proactively see patterns, proactively see a trend that's taking place in the field. So we are trying to be proactive in determining what's going to go wrong tomorrow versus reacting to what takes place tomorrow.
Sure. Well, there you go. That's the key word, is proactively. Martin, I know that you are extremely busy here at the conference, but you found time to sit down and speak with us. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Martin Jack, Barcoding Incorporated, and speaking with us today about proactively managing your mobile platform. Thank you for watching.